You have to understand why. What is the reason why you're doing things on a daily basis? What is the reason why you're interested in a certain thing? What is the reason behind all these things? Why did this happen to me? Why did they think that? Why am I going through these certain things? There's a reason why everything happens. And there's this phrase that people use, and I think they use it in the wrong way, right? Everything happens for a reason. No, I think everything happens as a cause of something else, right? This happened, which meant that this happened, right? The thing I'm going through happened because I didn't do something in the past. Because I didn't pay my bills last month, now I'm having to pay for that mistake with an overdraft fee and a credit score drop, right? Why is this happening to me? Oh, all these things are happening to me right now. Like, I can't believe it. It's like you put yourself in that situation by either doing something that you knew would be wrong or avoiding to do the things that you knew you had to do. And it's a hard pill to swallow, not literally. But once you do that, you can start moving towards an actual positive life, right? The first way to start doing that is asking yourself why. You know, you don't have to do it on just the bad things. A lot of people have positive lives. They have most of the stuff going on under control. But what they don't have is forward movement towards a goal that they're interested in achieving in their life, right? A lot of people have the dream for a book, but then they never take the steps necessary to go towards that. They don't break out of the daily habit. And I think part of the reason for that is they don't have a reason why. You know, they have a desire. I want to write a book, but they have nothing impelling them to write the book, right? I have to make these videos because I need some type of creative outlet. I realized over the past 2 years that I had so many conversations with the people around me, and I would keep them trapped in conversations. This is a little bit vulnerable, right? The thing I'm telling you right now. I would keep people trapped in these conversations because I needed to talk about something. I needed to get the ideas that were in my head out into the world, right? I have to do these videos. I have to write, articles. I have to write a book in the future. I have to create the videos I'm doing on my main channel. I have to be doing stuff because that's who I am, right? And if I don't have that creative outlet, then I know that bad things happen, that I get depressed or anxious or whatever it is, right? So that's my reason why I do the stuff on this channel. The reason why I make these videos is because I need that creative outlet, right? So then if you just want to write a book, that's great, but you have to have a reason why. It's like, maybe I went through something that was unique enough that would provide an extreme amount of value to a certain group of people, or even every person could read this book and take some value from it, right? Whatever it is, you have to have a reason that's causing you to go out there and do these things. Because once you have a reason in place, it gives you an added layer to kind of push you forward and move towards this thing, right? And that's what you need, is that activation energy. On the days that are not that great, on the days that you don't want to move towards this goal for yourself, you have something impelling you forward to do that, right? Now, you want to know a terrible life to live is never having a reason. It is nice to be spontaneous, right? But there's a reason that's causing you to be spontaneous. If you're doing things, just living in the flow and never setting things up for the future, you'll never reap the benefits of your actions. You'll never plant seeds for the future. And I just don't think it's the best way to live. I think there's a better way to live, and it's understanding why you're doing things on a day-to-day basis and what you're building towards and why you're interested in building toward those things, right? So just to further this example of what's the most extreme example of not having a reason why you have to do something, but being forced to do it, right? Well, you could talk about, school, or you could talk about work, or all these different things that I don't enjoy doing it, but technically there still is a benefit for you. There's the free will. You could always leave, right? So those are not too extreme. I think of the example of the concentration camps, right? This is the most extreme situation that human beings have been put in. One of the most extreme situations that human beings have been put in is during, I don't even know history enough to fully articulate this, so I'm not going to try to comment too much on this, right? But basically, one thing I do know from this book that I read, it was a first-hand account of the Nazi concentration camps of World War II. It was this book called Man's Search for Meaning. This guy, his name is Viktor Frankl. He was a psychologist, and he observed the concentration camps firsthand. He lived through it because he was Jewish, right? And he wrote a book about this after the fact. What causes people to be able to live through this terrible situation when they're constantly, these prisoners were constantly being put in situations where they have to do things by force, or else they would be murdered, killed, without any reason, right? Let's break that down. One of the challenges, or not challenges, but things, terrible things that they, the Nazi guards put the prisoners through, is that they would make them move, and maybe this isn't from this book particularly, but I've heard this just in general, make them move a pile of salt, just bags of salt, 100-pound bags, from this side of the camp over to that side of the camp, right? And look, if you're wondering where I'm going with all this, I promise you, this is how I build out ideas. I go to the extremes and pull it back to the middle. That's how life works, right? So just follow me for a second. They would make the prisoners take the salt, move it over there, right? And then at the end of the day, they'd get them to move it all back, right? And there's no reason for doing this. It's just aimless, useless work, right? Forcing people to work for a useless task so that not only is it pitiful that I'm basically naked and emaciated and freezing and like am separated from my family. Like I hate the situation that I'm in, but I'm gonna have to now go do work that's unproductive. Like, are you serious? You're gonna make me work and expend this energy without any reason? Like, at least give me, a railroad to go build, right? Then I have some thing of self-worth, But if you're gonna make me move these bags of salt, then there's no reason, right? And so this is the most extreme example of not having a reason to do something that ranks up there, right? That's pretty fair to say. Once again, I have very little knowledge and I can't cite these things and, look into it for yourself just to make sure that this is true. But the thing still stands, whether or not this is historical record or not, that useless work is against the human spirit, right? You have to have a reason why to move you forward. And so the second part of this example, he's a psychologist, Viktor Frankl, right? He sees these people, these Jewish prisoners in the Nazi concentration camps firsthand, and he is one himself. And he has the knowledge from this life's work of being able to see people, their motivations, and their experiences on a deeper level than most. Because he's a psychologist of some sort, right? A psychoanalyst, I think that's what he calls himself, right? Or what the title for him is. Anyways, because he has this incredible skill set and he's able to assess the terrible situation that he's in on a deeper level, he's able to see through the entire course of his stay in the concentration camps the reasons why certain people were able to live through these terrible conditions, right? There's got to be something that keeps them alive, right? So the first thing is this. There's something keeping them alive. There is a reason, right, that these people were staying alive. The second half, which maybe I should go review it before I say this because I forget. Maybe I'll make a whole video on all the reasons. But basically it was this. You need to have some type of reason in these three categories to keep you alive. To go back to family, to go back to work. And that's the third one. I forget the third one, right? The point still stands that they had a reason. Okay, and so I'll make another video fully building out the Man's Search for Meaning because it's one of the most incredible books I've ever read. And if you haven't even heard of it, you should definitely go read it. I read it page to page, cover to cover in one day. That's how good it was. It's 140 pages or something like that. So it's easily doable in a week for most people, right? Regardless, the point still stands of this whole video. You have to have a reason why you are doing things on a daily basis if you want anything to get done. You have to understand what is motivating me. Why am I doing these things? That way I know which ones are actually useful and which ones are not necessarily necessary, right? Imagine you lived knowing why you were doing the things you were doing, seeing how they added up, and over time reaping the benefit of that success, right? That's a great way to live. The fact is this, you can live that way. The way to do it is by starting to ask yourself why things are happening the way they are. Why is the world the way it is? Why am I living this life? Why am I motivated to do this type of thing, right? Most of the time, because people are usually aimless, right? And that's just because it's very difficult to have an aim, because it requires you to do a lot of thinking, and most people don't want to do the thinking that is required of them, right? But regardless, most people don't have an aim, so they end up in situations where they don't have a reason why they're doing the thing. For example, working at a job you hate, outside of the monetary benefit, right? But in order to have a fulfilling life and to do the things that you really want to do, on top of having a reason to do things for the utility of it, being able to make money, for example, you also need an emotional appeal or something along those lines that's deeper. It pulls you forward. It's an interest that grips you, that causes you to want to get out of bed in the morning, to be able to actually make massive leaps and bounds towards this vision that you have for yourself, right? Okay, I just said a lot in that, but basically it is this. You got to understand what's going on in your life to be able to make any sort of progress, right? And that's the thing. It's within you. This ability is within every one of us to be able to understand ourselves with enough time and enough provoking questions, whatever the word is for that, right? If you just continue to ask yourself these questions, eventually you'll understand exactly where you are. And if you're willing to accept that situation as just where you are, is what it is, that's the point when you're able to actually move forward. So I challenge you to do that in this new year, because if you don't, life will slip away from you. And you have the ability to do wonderful things in this life, so it would be a shame for you to not act on those things, right? Because you have it within you. And when you have that knowledge that you have the ability within you to go out and do wonderful things, you cannot commit your life to anything less than that, or else it's a discount to your future self, right? I want to see you do great things, and that way we can share in the wins together. So ask yourself why you're doing things on a daily basis and move towards this vision for your life. If you don't have a vision yet, develop that vision by trying to understand who you are and seeing how that aligns with what you can provide the world. Why not us?